30 years ago, I was a member of the world and watching the verdict of the O.J. Simpson case, and it was hilarious. And I don't mean hilarious, funny, because murder's funny. I mean hilarious and hysterical as to its absurdity. The whole notion, the whole concept was absurd. He killed two people, absolutely killed them. And because there were problems regarding blood handling and blood treatment, they found him not guilty because they're thinking, what? They planted the blood on him? Do you? Okay. Listen, I'm a lawyer. Reasonable doubt. Hey, he had his day in court. But they tried to frame a guilty man. Is that what you're saying? You're mixing the blood of the killer on the socks and the clothing that belonged to the killer? Okay. All right. And Mark Furman allegedly dropped the glove to frame a guilty man. I mean, think about this. O.J. Simpson wasn't in Brazil or on some vacation when all of a sudden they said, I did what? I wasn't even in the country. They're framing me. No, he was there. And it just so happens the two people that he knew, one that he really knew, and the other one that he maybe suspected might be a little bit, well, a little too familiar as he remembered in the past, having witnessed his ex-wife servicing a man. I'm getting ahead of myself. Which is an interesting pun considering what he saw her doing. But I digress. I have a filthy mind. But the whole thing was absurd. And I understand it. Look, the system sometimes not perfect, and sometimes you will have an absurd misapplication sometimes or some nullification. Look, in any event, it's over. That's it. We live with it. But there were a couple of points here to notice, and I want you to notice what I noticed. And this is really, really critical and really interesting and really important for you to kind of, well, focus on. Let's start, shall we? First, let's bring in this case right here. These folks. This was the moment of truth right here. Okay. Let me give you an idea of what I want you to be looking for specifically. Right here, the fellow on the nearest you on the left, this is F. Lee Bailey. F. Lee Bailey, or as they called him, for short. Just say J. Edgar Hoover was J. F. Lee Bailey was responsible for one of the greatest setups, which I'll explain later, regarding one Christopher Darden. Now, the guy we're going to be watching specifically, and this is the most important, the guy we're going to be watching is the second feller, and that is Robert Kardashian. Can you see him right there? He's in the middle, and to his left is Johnny Cochran, but there's Robert Kardashian. You'll see him in a moment. And I want you to notice this is Kim Kardashian, husband, father, and Kris Jenner's husband. And this is a guy we'll talk about. But here is the fellow that when he hears OJ is acquitted, he looks like, what? Watch this. Just listen to this.
Mr. Simpson, would you please stand and face the jury?
Here's OJ. Notice the collar.
We, the jury, in the above entitled action, find the defendant Orenthal James Simpson not guilty of the crime of murder in violation of Penal Code Section 187A, a felony upon Nicole Brown Simpson, a human being, as charged in count 1.
Now, understand a couple of things here. As I rudely interrupted, OJ had these very interesting collars, which we haven't seen since 30 years ago, which I kind of liked. But let me digress. Bob Kardashian is, of course, he's the feller who is standing there. He's got the kind of that Yvonne DiCarlo kind of a skunk hair thing, kind of like a Tulsi Gabbard thing, that racing stripe thing. Really, really strange. And I think hated O.J. Simpson because, as I said to you, there were some rumors later on that O.J. and Kris Jenner were, you know what I mean? There was that, and also Kardashian in an interview years ago with Barbara Walters was just, I mean, he did everything but said he was guilty. But let's watch it again. Now watch the look, not elation, not like, oh, relief, like finally justice. You know, my friend, OJ is acquitted. No. Let's go back and watch this again, okay? Let's watch this.
Mr. Simpson, would you please stand and face the jury?
Here's Bob. He's looking. See the hair?
We, the jury, in the above entitled action, find the defendant Orenthal James Simpson not guilty of the crime of murder in violation of Penal Code Section 187A, a felony upon Nicole Brown Simpson, a human being, as charged in count 1 of the information.
Unbelievable. Now, this is not to say. Let me back up a little bit. Look, please, dear friend, don't think for a moment that everybody didn't know O.J. Simpson killed these people. We know that. Everybody knew that. Question is, can you prove it? Because of course, this sock, you see the blood on this sock was. I mean, I'm not trying to laugh. I am laughing. It's absurd. It's absolutely absurd. So these people, when they said, we're going to get O.J. Simpson, why? Well, we got this blood. We got this blood here. We got these dead people. Let's go to O.J.'s house and let's make sure we get all this stuff. Put the blood there and mix it up and put that there. Hey, Furman, do me a favor. You found this glove. Get the blood on the glove. You found it. Here, take it. Drop the blood. Drop the glove off. Drop it. Okay, everybody right? We're gonna get OJ. Why? I don't know, because that's his wife and some guy, maybe the way, I don't know, but we're gonna get OJ. We're gonna get him, and we have no real reason, but now's the time, and we gotta act quick. We gotta make sure we collect all this blood and start dropping this blood on the socks and make sure that we get the blood in the truck and the blood in the socks and the blood in his home, and we gotta spread this blood around and not get caught. And remember, Lang and Van Etter, I've got just a little bit more to go before my retirement. And I'm going to risk the whole thing in getting OJ, okay? Now let's go back to these poor souls. These were, oh my God. This is a look of absolute. Let's go back here a little bit. This is Christopher Darden. This guy was just, oh my God. He was crushed beyond question. And that's Marcia Clark. Marcia Clark, by the way. Let me go back to Marcia Clark very quickly. Marcia Clark, let me get a look at that funja. There we go. Marcia Clark was told at one particular point by a jury consultant, Marcia, you're not appealing to black women. What? You're not appealing to black women on the jury. So you might want to, what? I'm not stepping down. No way. But Marcia, it could cost you the conviction. The hell with the conviction. I'm not stepping down. Another thing too, Marcia had this crazy idea that since O.J. Simpson and Nicole Brown Simpson were involved in domestic violence before, she's going to say that this naturally escalated. And they did jury pool and research, and they found that women, black women, by the way, remember, this case was moved from Santa Monica, which is the venue that it should have had, to L.A. because they didn't want another Rodney King, torching of the city. I mean, they were going to find O.J. Simpson not guilty come hell or high water whatever. They didn't care about justice or anything. They're not going to risk basically burning the entire city down. So they're going to move it. And those jurors made it clear, and sampling and attitudinal demographics of the time said that we know a little bit about domestic violence. It's not, unfortunately, a rare occurrence in our society, but we are not going to believe your story that somehow he took that and naturally killed this woman, because murder is the natural end result of domestic violence. That's absolute nonsense. And by the way, remember, Marcia Clark, it was suspected was well, there might have been an inner office little kind of a dalliance. In the above entitled action, find the defendant there's Skunk Man. Not guilty of the. There's Kardashian. Look at this. He still can't believe it. I cannot believe this. He killed these two people. By the way, the guy in the back, the person with the military cops, that's called a bailiff. Translation, bus drivers with guns.
Crime of murder in violation of Penal Code Section 187.
OJ's thanking the jury. Thank you. Thank you. He's good. He's good. There's Bob. Look at him. Just
Goldman, a human being, as charged in count 2 of the information.
Now, this is the saddest right here. This is Ron Goldman's father. This is Fred Goldman and Kim. And he was the fellow with the mustachioed, the handlebar mustache. He was, you see, Kim, I was in, by the way, this is something to remember. At one point, I was in Santa Monica during the civil trial where OJ was absolutely found liable. And believe me, if you heard any of his preposterous stories, you would have known immediately why. And I saw, it was a small courtroom, and I saw Fred Goldman sit within punching range of the man who killed his son brutally. Ron Goldman wasn't just stabbed. I mean, look at the pictures. He was stuck. And in this little alcove, this little area off of the main path, there was no place for him to go. He was stuck. He was caged, and OJ unleashed. And Nicole almost decapitated her. Well, when you're in a meth-fueled rage, things like that happen. But let's go on. I want you to see what happens. This, of course, this was that day. This was 1995. This was a reaction. Now, by the way, you see this fellow right here? Nice. This African-American lawyer on the left. This is Carl Douglas, not to be confused with the purveyor of the song, that great rock hit, Kung Fu Fighting. This is Jason Simpson, I think, and maybe his sister Arnell, I'm not sure, but this is Jason Simpson. This is OJ's oldest son, I believe. Now look at this. Watch this. Now this is the reaction of young people, ostensibly, after a double murderer was acquitted. Watch this. Unbelievable. What the hell was that? Look at the excitement. Now look at this. This was, I think, taken in a portion. These were obviously some folks of the community celebrating. These individuals obviously found some disfavor in an appliance store with this. And let me tell you something, my friends, you got to understand something. This was, as you know, this was pre-Twitter, pre-everything, pre-social media, pre-internet, pre-everything. And you had to go to a bar or go to a restaurant or go someplace to maybe catch a TV. Everybody came in. Everything stopped that afternoon. People in New York, I found out later, walked out into the street. Walked out. They were just confused and just almost like just befuddled by this. And this, of course, is Christopher Darden. He was, just gobsmacked by this. Could not believe it. Now, check this out. How ironic. This was a kind of a weird, looks like a Yugo. I don't know what this was, but this was a white, obviously a white, not the White Bronco, but this was the van that took him back to his Rockingham manse after the acquittal, somewhat reminiscent of the June 12th, 1994 slow speed chase, the greatest oxymoron of all time. And people were just thrilled that this double murderer got off. Look at that. People pulling over. There he is. The man, the hero, Lindy. And by the way, this is also pre-drone, so I guess this was helicopter. And there they are. 15 months OJ was in the pokey. 15 months awaiting trial. Do you know that, according to Kardashian, OJ was insisted that somebody stay with him all day? And I think they took like a lawyer from one of the offices who spent like 8 hours just keeping him company, because only lawyers can get in, and only lawyers can be a part of, or can get into jails. So that's where that was. But anyway, this is, now listen to this. This you have got, this is the moment. This was the source of more jokes. And I'm sorry to say this because it is beyond absurd. This is, I think his name is Jason. This is the eldest son of OJ reading OJ's statement. Now listen to this. Listen to this.
But when things have settled a bit, I will pursue as my primary goal in life the killer or killers who slaughtered Nicole and Mr. Goldman. They are out there somewhere.
At the time that happened, OJ, I think, set up it was an 800 number or something. They took that down immediately because people were calling him. Yes. Is this the reward? Yes. Are you offering a reward for the killer of? Yes. I have the answer. Who? OJ Simpson. Click. Hello. One after another. They stopped that. This is the hubris of this man. Some other person decided to kill these two people. And there were stories about a drug cartel, or I mean, just it. He was in most, like some people say, a meth crank, coke, drug fueled rage, and he went there to spy on his wife that night. He may have had that knife. Remember, he was doing a movie called Frogman, and he was into this whole knife thing. He wore that. Remember the wool cap? Frogman wore that. The gloves, the dark, black ops. He was on the set with these ex-Navy frogmen all day long, and all day long he's taking knives and silent kill, pulling people out of boats and areas. And he shows up and sees Nicole, and he probably said, "What do you want? What do you want?" And OJ that time, remember that day they went to Mezzaluna, where Ron Goldman was a waiter, and I believe the fellow that she was seen servicing was, I think, owned the restaurants, or a series of them. So, and OJ wasn't invited, and OJ at that time remember, he was with Paula Barbieri. This was the Playboy Bunny. She had nothing to do with him. Nicole had nothing. Nobody wanted. I mean, he was at the end of his rope. Things are going crummy. He's got to take a red eye to Chicago for whatever reason, and he went over there, probably not intending to kill her. But when they met and they saw, all hell broke loose. And Ron Goldman just happened. He was returning the glasses that I believe her mother, Judita, had left. And that was it. And you realize that all O.J. Simpson had to do was pick up the phone that day, call the police, covered with blood, and say, "Listen, I'm at the Bundy residence. Get over here right now. There's been a murder." And when the police show up, he says, "Look, I showed up and they were killed. You've got blood on you." "Oh, I know. I tried to resuscitate them. I didn't know if they were hurt or injured. Oh, by the way, here's the knife. Don't touch it. I'm sorry. My prints are on it." That would have been it. It would have taken one person to walk by and say, "Hey, that's O.J. Simpson stabbing these two people." Remember, it just happenstance. And he got back, and he was driving back like a maniac. And there was a woman who saw him at 10:50 p.m. right there. Perfect timing as he's honking. I think his lights were off in the White Bronco, trying to get back because he had to meet Alan Park, who was there to drive him to Chicago. I've talked about that on the channel, but let's go back to Johnny Cochran. Johnny Cochran, by the way, a great, great man. Met him, loved him, sweetest, absolutely the nicest man, bar none. Here's Johnny's version of this. Let's see what he has to say.
We said that if we could shatter the prosecution's timeline so that O.J. Simpson couldn't have committed this crime, that there would be a reasonable doubt. Mm-hmm. This was a case based upon the evidence.
Okay. Yeah. I'll give you that one, John. This is a case based upon the evidence or the lack thereof. But I like that. Johnny was trying to make it sound like there was some reasonable doubt. Don't forget, if the glove don't quit, you must. If the judge, how could I forget this? If the glove don't fit, you must acquit. To which I one time told Johnny in a private meeting on a show we were doing together, says, "And don't forget this one. If you acquit, you're full of," and he thought that was funny. This is Gil Garcetti. Gil Garcetti was the DA. Again, absolutely clueless.
We are, all of us, profoundly disappointed with the verdict.
Okay, here we go. Listen to this. As you can imagine, kind of self-evident.
This was an emotional trial.
Listen to this. He has a reason for why the jury screwed up. Listen to this.
Apparently, their decision was based on emotion.
On emotion and not the lack of evidence. Did you hear that? On emotion. Not because there was blood on the sock and no. It was on emotion. So that ticked them off a little bit there because they sat through this for I don't know how many months.
That overcame the reason.
And overcame the reason. Emotion. Oh, let's get that again a little bit. Gil, I like that. Gil, this is good. This is
the reason.
Hang on. Let me see if I can
let this.
let me get this one back here. All right.
That overcame the reason.
Damn it. Gil.
This was an emotional trial.
Here we go.
Apparently, their decision was based on emotion. That overcame the reason.
Whoa.
Please don't let this make you lose faith in our system.
There's Marcia. Bless her heart. Please don't let this make you lose faith in our system. A double murderer, a man who almost beheaded his ex-wife, and this poor innocent man acquitted for the most ridiculous reasons of blood evidence. They framed a guilty, but don't, please, in no wise should this in any way dissuade you from maintaining your faith in our system. That jury and the black community, and understandably so, hated the LAPD. You understand? Hated them. It's that simple. Here's Marcia. Very cool. Oops, be nice if I can. Here's Christopher Darden.
We came here in search of justice.
Now, Chris loses it.
You will have to be the judges, I expect, as to whether or not any of us found it today.
Well, OJ did, I
But
think.
I'm not bitter.
No, watch this. He's not better.
I'm not angry.
Nope, not
I'm
angry.
honored to have.
This is where he loses it. He can't get through it. Unbelievable. And you know what's sad about this? Sad at the time. Oh, this man's heart. This man, let me tell you something. I got to tell you. I saw this. I sat in Santa Monica and I saw the look on his face because when OJ would come in from the back, you have never seen the look of inexplicable, indescribable contempt, loathing, detestation, the likes of which you can't even explicate.
I deeply believe that this country lost today. Justice was not served.
This was his family. This was Fred. Here's, listen to this creepy response. Listen to that.
I didn't just fall off the back end of the turnip truck. And when you ask, are there people who are going to be doubting the criminal justice system? Of course there are going to be people who are going to be doubting the criminal justice system. But let me emphasize one thing. This case is not the usual case.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Don't look at this case as being really
what does that
how
mean?
most cases are handled, or how most juries, or how most judges, or how most everyone who's involved in the process.
Oh, that's true, because I guarantee you, Judge Ito was spineless, atesticular, a gelding, an impuissant, gelding twit of the first order. Yeah, that wasn't unusual.
Deal with the case. That's not the case. You know, the jurors do the right thing, you know, nearly all the time.
Nearly all the time, but not here, because they let their emotion take over them and not their logic. Wow.
Mr. Simpson, would you please stand
One more
and face
time.
the jury?
One more time, please. Check out Kardashian. One more time.
We, the jury, in the
Watch
above
the eye.
entitled action, find the defendant Orenthal James Simpson not guilty of the crime of murder in violation of Penal Code Section 187A, a felony upon Nicole Brown Simpson, a human.
I'm sorry. I remember seeing that. What? If you are not old enough to remember this, if you were not there then, if you did not understand how this country was, our attention wrapped, our attention just, there was nothing. Was this the trial of the century? Probably not. Probably the Lindbergh case. Richard Bruno Hauptmann, you know, and the Lindbergh, that's probably it. But this was, because remember, this was not a whodunit. It's a how do you prove it? Because we know who did it. OJ did it. He killed these two people. But through happenstance, through one little error and hole that the brilliant Johnny Cochran and others could march through and exploit, this sick bastard got off. Thank you for letting me share this moment. It is hilarious. It's absurd. The whole thing is absurd because a double murderer got off because of two things. Number one, excellent lawyering. And number two, a jury that was going to say, OJ, give us anything that even remotely resembles a reason to acquit, and we will do it. Thank you, my friends. If you like this, please subscribe. I'd love to see what your thoughts and comments are as you comment as you see fit.